streaming so that way everybody gets the recording later. All right. Here we go. Actually, you know what? This is a little brighter than I want. Let's put that there. All right, boom. Need that. All right. Let's get this party started. Got a nice brightness. Okay. All right. Welcome. Good afternoon. It is now 5 o'clock. It is time for Midweek Mindset. If you haven't been to one of my Midweek Mindsets, I kind of break things down to kind of get yourself back to zero. So that way you're not so wrapped up on the highs of making so much money or the lows if you actually didn't have a really, really good swing in the market. But the goal here is for one thing and one thing only. Wednesday wisdom for weekend wins to refuel your fire, reignite your passion for the market. All right. So let's go ahead and get this started. Get that out the way. Boom and boom. All right. So how I'm going to get this started. I want you to think of, because I always bring up a quote or someone in particular that I kind of like piggyback off of. And the quote that we're going to use today is something from David Goggins. The market is not a place for complacency, right? So the goal of today is to combat the complacency. We can get really wrapped up on how the market moves, follow the tendencies, and think that it's going to only go one direction. Today was a perfect example. There was a lot of movement for the past 2 days that basically dictated that we could be bullish, right? But the moment the market kind of opened, it kind of sent the signal like, hey, bullish run is over, and it started heading to the downside. So if you were completely complacent, you probably got chopped up because you kept on buying the dip, and today's dip did not stop. So it's very important when you are working on yourself that you battle that type of complacency. That's why we always tell you, we do the recaps, and on my trading floor, we kind of do recaps of what the market looks like, what the possibilities, because we never are too bullish or too bearish, and we just kind of go with what the market, because we want to ride the trend, we want to ride with the market. So the quote that I'm going to reference is David Goggins' quote, "Your comfort zone is your enemy." And we can get very, very, very comfortable very, very fast, because if you were successful yesterday on Tuesday and it was all calls, the first thing you're going to do, because the complacency can kick in, you'll just be like, all right, let me look at the calls. Let me find the cheapest calls. So I want you to always challenge yourself on what is the possibility. I remember, I think it's the movie, I might be butchering it. Please bear with me. I'm trying to go off of memory on this one. But the movie World War Z, there was a scene where Brad Pitt kind of goes in, I want to say it was the Middle East, and they basically already had a wall up. If you don't know the movie, it's Contagion, everybody's turning like zombies and everybody's attacking. But in that movie, they had a wall already built. And when he asked the question, he said, "So how come you prepared for this?" So the way their government or consensus worked, and I don't know if it's really true, but for the sake of the movie, there's always one person that has to go against the consensus. So in the case of building a wall, everybody agreed unanimously not to build the wall. So one person was tasked to actually complete that task in the event that all of them were wrong. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is I want you to open yourself to the imagination of what if you are wrong? What are you looking for? The purpose of trend lines is because we're going to ride the trend, right? So if you're going to ride the trend, then it needs to support that trend line. If it's breaking that trend line, then you need to change your philosophy a bit, or at least take a peek at the market. So make sure you understand, don't get too comfortable in the market. The market is a fickle beast. It can change directions. It's a summation of every participant, me, you, and probably 10,000, 10 million, or whoever is participating in the market, and it could easily sway your decision. All right, let's go to the next slide. All right, so I want you to understand complacency. Let's take a very, very deep dive on complacency. understand what it is and how it kind of works. So complacency is defined, or at least the first definition is defined as a feeling of smug or uncritical satisfaction with oneself or one's achievements. So, and that's why I'm kind of keying off of that. And if you want to, you can put a 1 in the chat if you actually face a situation like that at any time in your trading career. Because what we tend to do, we really want to build that self-confidence, which is okay. You got to have that self-confidence. You got to be able to handle the market. You got to be able to know if I have my stop loss or this is the position I want to hold or whatever the case may be. You got to be confident that the strategy is going to do the job that you expect. So you got to have a sense of self-confidence, but overconfidence can leave you in a place of complacency because you feel like, oh, you know what? I was able to do this because I use Fibonacci. You know what? I'm really good at telling Fibonacci, so I don't even need to draw it. I kind of have a ballpark figure where that Fibonacci level could be. That's a sense of complacency. It's better to be sure than to be guessing. And the market is really designed on executing your strategy consistently. The moment that you change something in your strategy, in the realm of complacency, you can put yourself in a very, very uncomfortable situation where your drawdown is a little bit deeper than it needs to be, or you actually take an L that you're not supposed to actually experience because you just affected the numbers. That's the whole purpose. So as you get into your trades, as you start to do some self-reflecting in this one right here, I want you to understand that complacency is probably the biggest thing that holds every trader's consistency back, because instead of making it systematic, you start to skip steps in the system. You don't want to do that. And if you're going to go ahead and end up being complacent, you're going to affect all the ratios, all the numbers. You might as well throw the back testing that you've done out the window. All right, so let's go ahead and go to the next slide. All right, so the danger zone, right? Consequences of complacency. Let's take a couple of examples, right? Let's just say you're so complacent at your position, right? You know that your stop loss is supposed to be 10%, but you're like, no. I know I'm right. You don't even go back to your charts to actually look if you really are right. You're not even respecting the trend lines. It's breaking down. And you're like, I've already did all the work. So I'm going to hold on and keep that bias, or it's probably outdated bias. And later on, I'm going to really dive in. I have a whole entire course specifically on different psychological effects as a trader that's going to be coming out. So look out for that as well. And you have that outdated bias, and then the market has shifted, and it could be anything. It could be a catalyst because Jay Powell decided to, start a speech randomly, or some type of attack happens. I remember there was a experience I had. I had Lockheed Martin puts, because their earnings, they tend to short towards the end of their dividends. That was like my strategy and a couple of traders that we were trading. And right before the Ukraine war happened, and it was announced on the weekend, and guess what ended up happening? Those puts was out the window. It really didn't generate the money that I was expecting. Actually, they were really red. But what ended up happening that next morning, I was literally looking at the fact that at the end of the day, I was so completely like at the point where I'm like, okay, I know I'm right. I know this is the direction that I was looking for in my puts. I was complacent. I was like, no, dividends. After dividends, everybody sells their position. I'm going to hold on to these puts. My complacency made me very biased to the current events of the news, or the current climate of the news, or the market, and everybody was buying the dip because of that situation. So there are consequences when you don't adjust. You got to be very malleable in the market, especially if you have a certain strategy that requires a target and a stop loss. So don't just bend the rules because you know you're right. but bend the rules only in the event if the market supports your thesis. So that means if it's following the trend line that you just put up and it's against your original thesis, then that means that's the bend of the rule. But if you don't have anything that supports it, or there's no data that supports it, or you're just literally fighting against the market, you might as well be in the middle of the ocean caught by a riptide. It's going to pull you deeper and deeper until you drown. Okay. All right, so let's go to the next slide. All right, so let's talk about some inspirations for overcoming complacency, right? Let's take David Goggins, right? Imagine if David Goggins was complacent at any time in his career. Imagine if he just said, you know what, I give up, I quit. And if you haven't read the book, Can't Hurt Me, I do suggest that you check out that book. And he could have gave up a long time in multiple ways. He's a different type of human being. But if you really think about it, the overcoming of complacency that he was able to do, for him to get out of his comfort zone, and he talks about callousing the mind, it requires you to build certain disciplines inside of yourself. That way, complacency cannot really live there. They can't even exist there. Or you start to make complacency so much smaller, because we have a desired goal. And if you did the exercise that I told y'all a while back about building your vision board, finding out how much money you want to make, and you detailing all those keys, how you're going to do it, how breaking it down to the common denominator, so that way you have your daily goals, your hourly goals, your trade goals, you'll start to see that the complacency is almost null and void, because you've systematically attacked the market and you're reaching your goals through those aspects. So I would say check out David Goggins' book. It's really good. It shows you a lot of ways that you can really overcome that complacency. You can get out of that comfort zone. You can start doing the work. I know trading journals are annoying. Sometimes I do forget, but what I don't do, I don't let a whole week go by that I have not updated my trading journal. And I'm talking about from the feelings, what happened in the trade, and this, that, and third, as far as the aspects of it. But the actual trade journal itself, I do a broad stroke over the weekend, making sure that I cover every one of them. But that's avoiding complacency. That's another one you could lose a lot of sleep on, because you don't know what to fix because you don't have a proper trading journal. So that can really be a good inspiration to overcome it. All right, so let's go ahead and get to the next one. Let's talk about strategies, tools to combat complacency. I gave you a good book. Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. That's one. Another one, if you want to be a really, really good trader, Bucky put me up on this book. I read it over. Well, I have the Audible book, but I listen to it every so often, which is Thinking of Bets and Best Loser Wins. You know, in this market, you know, we're probably going to end up losing more than we win. It's just how we lose in the market. So that one's a really, really good book, or those two are really good book. Also the engagement, being able to not feel like you're alone. Those are the things that's going to stop you from being complacent. You know, we do a trading floor to allow ourselves to always be available. So that way you have somewhere where you can ask the questions, or if you have doubt or you don't have support, especially when friends and family is not available for you in something that they don't understand, you have like-minded individuals therefore. So these are the things that you can do so that we can fight complacency. Put goals, put everything that you need to do, like line it up. Those are the things that fights complacency. It beats up the procrastination and it kicks it in the butt, so that way you can be able to hit those goals. And it also gives you a target where when you hit it, you just feel so inspired, and it really, really helps, and you know, kicking those endorphins that really help you. All right, so let's go to the next slide, because there is a mental and psychological aspect to complacency. We need to be in a growth mindset. the market is never going to stay the same. The players that was here from the mid 70s and 60s are probably not the same players that's here in the 2000s and where we are right now. And then 10 years from now, it might not be the same thing too. So if you already built, or like David Goggins says, you callous your minds on the mental and psychology aspects of complacency and being able to combat that, you'll be able to develop that growth mindset. So that way you're able to know what are the triggers for that, and you can avoid those triggers. You can sharpen those skills and be able to handle the emotional states that, complacency can do. Like one of the biggest things, especially, I'm human too. I've been complacent before, is I had to be honest with myself. I was very complacent on using stop losses. I felt like, I'm intelligent enough that at the end of the day, I don't need to use a particular stop loss. There are some that's able to do it, but they have the discipline that I just don't have. So if I'm operating in the market, I actually put all basically my trading plan, I pretty much superimpose it onto my chart, which basically has my entry, which is my why I'm looking at the market. Basically, I'm checking out what my indicators letting me know. And then I already know what my win is, which is basically my exits, letting me know when I'm going to take my top profit and when I'm going to actually put my stop loss. And most times I put my stop loss into profit. But I've tried recently because I just felt a little bit more comfortable, especially I'm a futures trader, doing the one touch, you could actually get into the market in seconds with the market order. And I'll make the mistakes. I'll see 10 ticks and I'm like, that's the stop loss. And then when it gets to like 15, I'm like, oh, I just gave an extra 5 that I don't feel comfortable with. But if I wasn't complacent, I don't have to be in that spiral from a mental and psychological aspect that I'm like, oh man, I made a mistake by giving up 5 ticks because I was complacent or lazy or procrastinating enough that I did not want to apply a stop loss. So it's very important that you understand the mental and psychological aspects to it, so that way you can be able to combat that as well. All right, next slide. So actionable steps for the future. How do you keep on combating complacency? So I talked about a couple of them throughout this slide. Let's just go ahead and kind of recap some of them. So continuous learning platforms. Cheatcode.com is a great place. We got a lot of free content. We have individuals, our coaches, and just like me, we usually are available to answer some questions. And then you can book one-on-ones with us and everything else. So you need something that you can grab onto where you have people that you can talk to and be able to get the information that's going to steer you in the right direction. So that way it can minimize the complacency as a trader. Another one, I already talked about it, the trading journal. You can't know where you're going if you don't know where you came from. And that's what the trading journal does. So that way you can be able to attack the market properly. And the things that don't work, you already documented it, so you never do them again. All right. Engagements in the trading community. I know, I get it. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you're at work, or sometimes you just don't feel like talking to strangers or people that you don't know. Look, we're a safe space. At the end of the day, the best way you can overcome your complacency and be able to attack the market is knowing confidently that the information you receive is applicable or it's practicable. You can put it to work when it's necessary. And if you're sitting quiet and you always stay in the mute, because again, Zoom gives you that access to that. You can do it. That's not a problem. But it's either you learn through that or you learn by asking questions. Me, I did a lot of YouTube University, learning how to trade. It took until I got to cheatcode.com to really understand it and understand the aspects to it. So it's very important that you engage in the trading community. Even if you text in the Discords and cheatcode.com, I suggest it. It helps. Mentorship and coaching. Like I said, you can book one-on-one. We got great coaches, some from future stocks, Forex, everything. So whatever it is, you have that access there. Setting regular goals. I've given y'all that challenge already. Please, if you have not set your goals or you haven't set your targets for where you want to be at the end of the year, where you want to be at the end of the quarter, where you want to be in life, period, I suggest that you, as soon as this video is over, you start working on that. I promise you, you're going to try to write 100, like Steve Harvey said, right? Try to write 100. You will not make it to 50. There is that much things that you have, but they're not as much as you think they are. All right. And then schedule time for strategy and review. just like Kobe was in a gym, just like, the Serena sisters, Serena Williams and the Williams sisters, they did not just said, all right, you know what? I just tripped and fell and I'm now the greatest tennis player. It's what work you put in when everything's shut down and you're alone that replicates in the market. I want you to treat the market like game day. That is the time for execution. It's not the time for practice. Let me take that a step back. You can, after you hit your goals, right? You can warm up in the sidelines, but don't practice with your real money. That's not what the market is for. It's game day. It's win, lose. It's Hunger Games at that point, because they will take your profits, they will take your money, and there's nothing you can do about it except cry. That's it. All right. So let's go ahead and finish up. I've given y'all this list before: self-awareness check-ins, journaling and reflective analysis, setting boundaries and limits. Shout out to some people that set their boundary limits. I may start to do that as well. I started putting a trailing drawdown on myself through the day. If I lose $250, I just stop trading. That's just the way it goes. Educate yourself on market climates. Tomorrow, there's going to be quite a bit of information all slammed in one. Jay Powell is speaking right now. Like, there's a lot that's going to affect the market, and we're in the middle of earnings season. Scenario planning. The only way you're going to get anywhere, just like a well-oiled machine navigating through the waters or whatever the case may be, it's very important that you do the planning. Diversification of your portfolio. Please, by all means, if you got some wins, cater to yourself at least something, so that way you can feel you got something from the market. And then mindfulness and meditation, either spiritual or not, by all means, you need to be centered with yourself, so that way you can be able to attack the market. All right. On that note, that is the conclusion. And I will open this up for anyone that wants to share. How y'all doing? How's your day? How did you do this week? Don't be shy. Or we could tap out here. It's up to y'all.
Hey, thank you, Jeff, for midweek motivation mindset. I missed it last week. I got to enjoy it this week. I just Googled the book you just said. I didn't catch the first one, but I got it on YouTube. I just did that to get
Can't
that
Hurt Me
audio.
was the first one.
Can't Hurt Me.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the other one was the one you said Bucky had told you about. And that
there's two. There's one, Thinking in Bets. That one's a real good one. And then the Best Loser Wins.
That's the one I looked up. Best Loser Wins. And I'm a start with that one. I'm glad I got a chance to get on here. You look different. You look clean cut.
Yeah, I decided to go old school. I haven't looked like this since my marriage. I guess I got rid of everything.
You look good.
Thank you.
And this was good for me today. And I like the presentation.
Thank you.
All right. See you Saturday.
All right. See you.
Peace, JD.
Hey, how you doing? Good.
I'm here eating right now, man. I'm hungry.
It's all good. How was your trading day today?
Today was a good day. Today was a great day. Looking clean too. I see you, JD. Looking like a brand new man.
I'm trying to catch up to you.
Come on, listen, man. You made me. Don't worry. Today would have been one of those days I feel like I should come on camera since you're on camera, man. But I'm just in my hoodie chilling right now. I ain't looking at screen.
It's all good. It's all good.
But so today pretty much I took two trades. I took two trades on SPY.
Nice.
My 29th out of the 30-day paper trade challenge, and I saw some serious chop today. I took two calls, but I ended up coming out with first one was $105.
Nice.
The next one was $22.
Okay.
Yeah, because I got greedy. I tried to jump back in right after I took the $105. And then the thing is, it went all the way down to $107 negative.
Oh, So you held on to it.
I held on.
Okay.
But I held on for a reason. It wasn't like just blind or nothing. Like the reason I held on was because I set a long position. I used that tool today for the first time.
Okay.
Right? And I know
and it never hit your stop loss.
It did. It wicked past it a lot. It wicked past it a couple times.
Now remember what we talked about. The reason why it hit your stop loss is probably because your entry could have been better. So what did you do? Did you journal it? Did you see what you could have did better so that way you don't have to see negative $100?
So you said what? Say that again.
I was saying, like, how we normally like go over, we're like, when you do a really, really good entry, the entry shouldn't really affect your stop
entry,
loss.
right? Okay, yeah. The entry, right?
Did you look at the entry and was like, okay, you know what? I could have did something better.
Yeah. I enter. You know what it is? Like I enter too early, man. It's not even that I don't. It's like I always enter my trades too early for some, like not knowing. I see something, I'm like, I know it's gonna do this, but it'll move in the momentum. It'll move in that direction. But the stocks sometimes, like most of the time, they're not gonna just go up. So I sat through some serious stuff. I set the long position to it. It went below. It went below multiple times, and I was very close to cutting it. But I said, okay, I seen the wicks getting smaller. I was watching certain details, and I was watching the higher time frames. And I said, look, there's room for it to push up. It just had to first cool off. So I gave it that time. I let it run, and then I was able to see it push up to like $50 something, but I just took profit at 22. I didn't want to turn it back into a loss. I just said, let me get out, chilled for the rest of the day.
Which is smart because you did get in a little early, so you didn't have the most optimal entry, so you can't get the most optimal profit target. So I think you did the smart thing there. But now that you have that under your belt, the main thing is finding a way to get rid of that, getting into early. Because it took me a while. I was like, I know the direction that the market's going, especially when we're dealing with stocks and options. That theta makes you feel like, oh, I bought time. I got time. I know I got time. So I can hold on to this a little longer. But if you didn't get the best entry, it doesn't matter if you had all the time or none of the time, your entry is probably going to go against you because you went against the current or you went against the tide. So you're going to feel some pain before it actually start to show the profit. And it just depends on how much of the research you did.
Yeah, today, like I was switching between time frames. I had to sit in that trade for it took like a whole 50 minutes to play out, like it took some time, but I was like, both of them, I took calls today. And right after I got out, JD, it dropped. Like the whole market dropped, crashed. So
that means you got good instincts. That's important. Because as you're reading your indicators and your oscillators, you want to make sure that you understand what the market is trying to tell you. So good thing you wasn't complacent. It seemed like you kind of did your due diligence. If anything, your complacency that you could fix is, I want to be in, I know where it's going. So I don't care if I'm a little early, I'll pay the premium for that. Let's try to eliminate that. You want to sharpen your entry where, at best it's probably minimal exposure to the market that they try to take your money.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm working on, even just, for example, I was thinking to myself, okay, I want to go in a real trade, me picking the time, I was looking at, 2 months out, 3 months out. I'm seeing the contracts were like 10,000. So I'm wondering, how can I find something more affordable, Yeah.
Well, what I would suggest, I know Christian Bucky has done a couple of workshops on that, on how to pick option contracts. I do have one that's coming up very soon that can kind of give you a little bit of insight, but it's just literally, you want to kind of like make sure that you're buying it's I know it sounds like we were speaking from a recorder and we're saying the same things over and over, but it's the truth, right? We buy at support if we're going to go to the upside, and we sell at resistance. It's just the supports and resistance changes. It could be levels, it could be trend lines, it could be Fibonacci. So those are the areas that you want to kind of make sure that you get your entry. As far as affordability on the contract, you want to make sure that it fits the budget and the time horizon that you're looking to, get that profit. Because again, as traders, our job is the appreciation and depreciation of the market. It's not about holding on. We're not investors, or at least we don't play as investors, right? We might invest our capital for a time being, but our goal is to sell it at a profit, right? So look out for that as well, and I'll get that out to you so that way you can kind of pinpoint that.
But for sure, respect, Diddy. And yeah. So what time is this going to be running more frequently? This is now 5 o'clock. We're doing this.
Yeah. So midweek mindset is 5 o'clock to 5:30, which we're about to wrap up right now. And then after that, we got Saturday, which is our normal, which is 10 to sometimes 11. Sometimes we go a little further.
Yes. I appreciate you.
Of course.
Have a good evening, all right, everybody.
All right, you too. All right. Anyone else wants to share, or anyone else has maybe questions?
Hi, JD. I just want to say thank you for these mindset teachings. I'm new to learning how to trade in this particular market. So I've been watching you all week long. I got my account set up, got my demo ready. So I've just been watching you all talk your way through. I really love your at the end, how you go over what the market was doing, because that's really helpful for me to really see and hear your thinking and your thought process as you enter the trades, exit, how you see it. So that's been very helpful for me to learn how to trade in this market. So I'm just grateful for this mindset series, because it's very helpful. Like you said, the complacency that can spill over into your life. And so and it brings right into whatever you're doing. And so that's going to help me, to even be better at focusing, because complacency can lead to lack of focus. And so it will help me to focus better on what it is I need to do so that I can get better at being able to trade futures. So thank you so much. And you do look nice. I saw the comment. I saw you shaved and everything. You look very nice. Thank you.
Thank you. I know people are going to look at the old videos like, wait, how did he look in the last one? Oh yeah, it was rough around the edges.
You look like the picture you showed the other day now.
Yeah, and that's why I did. I was like, you know what? I haven't looked like that for like forever. And I get bored with my hair. Sometimes I'll just go ahead and grow it, then braid it, and I know it, and then I just cut everything off. So I appreciate it. Thank you very much. But you did say something that's very important, right? Like it's just amazing. Like the market. All right, Rod. Okay. But the market, it literally holds up this proverbial mirror in front of you, and it almost like everything that I'm teaching is mostly self-improvement, and it can translate to other parts of your lives, because it also transformed me as well. So I do suggest, as you're taking it on and start to really reflect it on where is it coming from, and then you'll realize, oh wait, I did this because as a kid I always did that and I thought that was normal, but the market doesn't respect that, and it starts to build that discipline that you need to be a trader. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right. Anyone else before we get out of here? Last call for alcohol. All right. So we'll wrap up here. Thank you, everyone, for tapping in. Of course, I know some people probably at work, they can't really tap in, but the purpose of this is so that way everybody is on the same page, reset back to zero, take the market as objective as possible, and then we could go ahead and conquer again tomorrow. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and end it here.